Hello. Tonight our lesson is on scaling your graphs. So here we have a coordinate plane, x and y axis, but notice that there's nothing labeled. So when you make a graph, make sure that you always label your axis. The x-axis is the horizontal axis, and the y-axis is the vertical axis. Also, when you make your graph, you need to be sure to scale your x and y axis appropriately, and that will depend upon the data that you have to graph. So let's look at our first example. All right, so here I have a set of data, an XY table. So I'll label my axis, x and y. If I look at my x values, they go from 1 to 7. So I have to make sure that my x-axis goes up to at least 7. Well, that won't be a problem. I have plenty of room. If I go by ones, I can make it up to 7 easily. And for this set of data, I won't need my negative numbers, but if I did, then I would also scale in the negative direction using the same increments. Okay, each mark is worth 1. Now my y-axis, my highest value is 34. So if I scale by ones on the y-axis, I'm not going to make it. It looks like I only go up to about 9 or maybe 10. So I need to make each mark worth a different amount than 1 in order to get 34 on my graph. All right, so what do you think would be a good number to use as our increments? Well, one way to do it is to take the number that you need to get to and divide by the number of lines. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 10 lines. 34 divided by 10 would be 3.4. Well, all right, I don't want to make each mark worth 3.4. That would be ridiculous. But I could pick a number that's fairly close to it that would get me where I want to be. How about 5? If I make each mark worth 5, that will get me enough room to graph y is 34. All right, and so each mark being worth 5 would get me there. Now I'm not going to label each mark. I could just label like every other mark. 10, 20, 30. Okay, that's sufficient. 40. So I can see by labeling every other mark that each individual mark is worth 5. And this data, again, doesn't have any negatives, but if I had to scale and plot some negative data, I would also keep the same increments. All right, so once I've properly scaled my axis, then I can plot my data. So let's do that real quick. So if x is 1, y is 10. If x is 2, y is 13. If x is 3, y is 18. 4 is 21. 5 is 26. 6 is 29. 7 is 34. All right, so it kind of looks like a line. Although it's actually not going to be an exact line because the increments aren't changing by the same amount each time. All right, here we have another set of data. And this time my x values go up to 14. So let's label my axis, x and y. All right, if I go by ones, I won't be able to make it to 14. So what would be a good number to use? Yeah, I think 2s would work pretty well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And again, you don't need to mark each and every one of them with the values. All right, so if I mark that fifth one as 10, I know that each one is worth 2. And I don't have any negatives, but if I did, I would have to scale this direction the same. For my y values, go up to 31. Well, as the previous example then, it looks like 5s would work pretty well. And if I had negatives, I would scale my y-axis the same in the negative direction. Okay, so now I'll be able to fit all the data on there. Go ahead and plot those numbers. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Here's our data. Let's label our x and y axis. Pause your video and scale your axis and restart to check and see how you did. Welcome back from pausing the video. My x values go up to 20. And you may have chose to go by 2s, and if you did, you would be able to make it, just barely. If each markers were 2, you'll be able to get x equals 20 on there. And then the negative direction, for y, we have to get up to 43. So I do believe 5 is still going to work. So if every marker is worth 5, 30, 40. Okay, we're going to make it. 45 is right there. All right, so our scaling should look like that. And then you could plot the points. Let's go to the next one. All right, let's scale our axis, or label our axis rather, x and y. Pause your video, scale the x and y axis, then restart to check your answer. Welcome back from pausing the video. Our x values go up to 5 and go down to -5. So scaling by 1 would work just fine. Our y values go from 25 to 25, so we need to make 25. Well, it looks like 5s are going to be our best bet again. And we don't have any negatives, but if we did, we'd scale them appropriately. And let's plot these points. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, 4, 16, 5, 25, -1, oops, -1, 1, -2, 4, -3, 9, -4, 16, -5, 25. All right, this is going to make a parabola. This is the graph of y is equal to x squared. All right, that is all for tonight. Remember, read some books.